Hi, everybody. Just a quick disclaimer before the video starts. Obviously, by now you've seen the title of the video, and this is definitely a darker path than we have gone down before on our reactions. But you'll hear me say this in the video later. You know, unfortunately, to gain knowledge, not all things are going to be happy.
That is true.
But to learn about any country, you got to learn the good and the bad. Having said that, we just want to make sure that we say this. You know, we've always kept our show family friendly. Obviously, this episode would not be acceptable for children to watch in any way, shape, or form. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there to you. And having said that, roll the intro.
Hey!
Hey, hi.
Welcome to the Natasha and Debbie show.
Hello.
That's brutal.
Just two patriotic girls.
So please don't take us the wrong way.
Hello.
What?
Welcome to the Natasha and Debbie show.
You always say hi, not hello. I'm thrown off.
I know. I had to mess you up a little bit.
I don't know how to do this video now.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Okay. That's a new one. Debbie throwing curveballs. Watch out, you'll get hit.
Never know what's going to happen.
Okay, that was just an interesting change of pace. Just something so small can just throw people off. And that did it for me. Hi guys. Lovely to have you here. See, I'm just take over, Debs.
Now you're just all discombobulated. Love our matching sweatshirts, don't you? So cute.
We decided to be nerdy today.
We're dark because we're going to go a little bit on the dark side today.
Yeah.
But before we do, if you like our video, hit the like button.
And consider subscribing to the channel. Please don't do that just because we ask you to, and just based off of one video. Make sure you go back and watch a little bit of us and get to know our personalities and see if you want to subscribe that way. So yeah, we're going to get into a video today. We put a poll up. You guys voted. And some people said it was a very odd poll. They're like, never would have thought I'd be voting on these things. And I responded back with, it just shows the versatility in our channel.
That's right.
But we're going to do, it's serial killers, but the video is actually titled the top scariest British criminals. At the same time, you know, we're in America, so, you know, land of the serial killer.
We've heard a lot of ours.
Yeah, well, I've read that 67% of serial killers are from America. Not something we're happy to take claim to that. But it's interesting to learn about the people over there and the things that have happened there too. Now, we are true crime fans for sure. But I don't want this to be lost on anybody that, of course, we absolutely know that there are victims. That's a real thing. We don't make fun of that. You know, we definitely think about those people whenever we watch true crime documentaries and things like that and watch stuff like this. So we do absolutely know these people are real that have been hurt and killed. And just want to make that statement before we go any further.
Absolutely.
So before we go any further, having said that, I want to thank everybody over at Patreon. We love our patrons. You get exclusive content only on Patreon that you will not get anywhere else. You get bonus episodes of the Natasha and Debbie show that you can only see there. You get to see Debbie do Cooking with Debbie episodes 3 times a month, one British dish a month. And there's all kinds of great, cool stuff and even more new stuff that's coming out very soon. So I want to give some shout out to some patrons today.
Thank you to Anthony Pope.
I want to thank you to Chris Smith.
I thank you to Wee J.
Thank you, Catherine East.
Thank you to William Birch.
Thank you, Steve Halford.
Thank you to J. Nicholas Windsor.
Thank you, Wendy Hodgkinson and Norman.
That's right, Norman. Thank you to Becky Riddell.
Thank you to Ireland herself, Mel McGar.
Thank you to Katie Daniels.
Katie Daniels, tell Nanny Violet we said hello.
Hi, Nanny.
Thank you to Julie Palmer.
I thank you to Claire Lawton.
Thank you, Roberta Laverty.
I thank you to Keith Whelans.
And thank you to Sandy Kay.
Thank you all so much for being patrons.
Yes, we
appreciate you.
Very much. We're going to get on with this video today and see what I don't think we know any other than Jack the Ripper.
That's the only one I know of.
I know, I don't know either. And we do watch a lot of like stuff, so but they're typically American, you know, like Ted Bundy, of course, and Jeffrey Dahmer and all that stuff. So, but we're going to get into this and see what we can learn about this today.
Suzanne Blamaz was shot through the head. He actually made a triumphant gesture at the camera after he killed her.
Who is
Fred
this?
and Rosemary West. Between them, the West raped, tortured, murdered, and dismembered 12 women, including 2 of their own daughters.
Whoa.
Hey, how's it going, YouTube? I'm your host for this one, Landon Dallitzing, and today we actually have a special guest here from our sister channel, Top 5 Scary Videos. So today we have Jack. Whoa, Jack.
What's going on, guys? You may recognize me from over at Top 5 Scary Videos, the scariest channel on YouTube, may I add. My name's Jack Finch, and as always, it's an absolute pleasure to be chilling with you guys over at Most Amazing Top 10.
And you know what? Top 5 Scary Videos, your channel is getting more subscribers than we are right now. What's going on, guys?
Fast forward that a little bit.
Over here. But let's get right into this one. So today we're going to be talking about some of Britain's most dangerous and hideous criminals that have shocked the nation. So this is the top 10 scariest British criminals, and that's why we have Jack to help us out with this one.
Am I number 10?
You're the criminal, yeah. So at number 10, we have Jack.
Coming in at number 10, Charles Bronson, probably the most notorious British prisoner of all time. And
So, of course, there's the actor Charles Bronson, not him.
Right.
And then I know, was it Tom Hardy did a movie, Bronson? I never saw it, but that's all I know. But I've heard the name. I think it's just because of that movie. Yeah, I think it's just because of that movie.
And a very apt entry to kick off this list. Bronson is so infamous in the British criminal world that he's even been portrayed on the silver screen by the one and the only Tom Hardy. Born Michael Gordon Peterson on the 6th of December 1952, he later changed his name to Charles Bronson after the famous American actor. While he was fighting in the British underground bare-knuckle boxing scene, Bronson has been referred to in the British press as the most violent prisoner in Britain and has spent the majority of his life behind bars after initially being sentenced for armed robbery in 1974. Although he's been released several times, Bronson has always ended up back behind bars and was given a discretionary life sentence in 1999. Despite this, in recent years, Charles Bronson has changed his name to Charles Salvador after taking up life as an artist and reportedly turning over a new leaf. He has pleaded his reform on numerous occasions, stating that Charles Bronson died in 2014 and that he leads a new life as Charles Salvador, hoping to be released in 2020.
Harold Shipman makes its way onto this list at number 9. He is the type of guy who will make you never trust your doctor again, and here's why. He was a British general practitioner and a serial killer who murdered at least 215 of his patients. His favorite method of killing his victims was to inject them with a lethal dose of drugs. Originally, he was only convicted of 15 murders, but after an official investigation was done, it was determined that he had killed hundreds of other people between the years of 1975 and 1998. He was convicted in January.
Okay, that's very interesting because here in Cincinnati, very similar. And actually, at a hospital within walking distance of where you're watching us make this video right now, we had, well, he was over several different hospitals, but
Yeah, but anyway there.
We have a notorious serial killer here named the Angel of Death. And it was actually about the same time period. He did exactly the same thing. He was an orderly and a nurse, and he also assisted with autopsies. I can't remember his real name right now. He just died in 2017. But yeah, he killed, I think, like 30-some people, or 30, it's like 30 to 50 people, but he claims to have killed over 100.
That's scary.
And he did exactly the same thing. Like, he would poison them with cyanide. He would inject like hepatitis and even HIV into patients' foods.
That's just crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I think somebody in a hospital that's an employee there, or even your doctor, you would hope you could trust them.
Well, and the doctor's thing is different. That's a little bit more surprising to me because, like they even said with the guy here, you know, they didn't vet the orderlies as much as you would like a doctor or something like that. But this guy, you know, the Angel of Death that I'm referring to, that was here in Cincinnati, you know, he was able to carry this out in 4 different hospitals, and it was just so many people that he murdered, and so again, cyanide poisoning, all kinds of things, arsenic. So this is just interesting because it's around the same time period. I want to say it was the late 80s though that he was captured. But I just thought that was fascinating because everything they're saying so far about this man parallels.
Yeah, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, like he had a little bit of a longer streak, but we'll get back into that. Sorry, I'll rewind that 5 seconds.
between the years of 1975 and 1998. He was convicted in January of 2000, and he was sentenced to life in prison, but he was found hanging in his cell 4 years after his trial. Could he be any more ironic? I bet he killed more than he saved as a doctor. Just
Obviously.
so messed up.
Coming in now at number 8, Ronnie and Reggie Cray. Strangely enough, another set of British criminals that Tom Hardy has played on the silver screen,
Weird.
this time twice. The names Ronnie and Reggie Cray are synonymous with the British underworld and London gangland, and you probably won't find anyone in Britain who hasn't heard of these pair. They were notorious for being the perpetrators of organised crime in the East End of
Those big
London during the
monsters.
1950s and 1960s, alongside their gang known originally as The Firm, which led them to be involved in such nefarious activities as murder, armed robbery, hijacking, arson, protection racketeering, and countless assaults. The Cray twins were born on the 24th of October 1933, just 10 minutes apart, to parents Charles David Cray and Violet Annie Lee, and lived a life of such prolific notoriety that they were cemented into British culture as two of the most dangerous brothers to have ever lived.
Fred and Rose West hacked their way onto number 7 on our list. They were a married couple who abducted, tortured, sexually abused, and murdered women over a period of 20 years.
Jeez.
Their killing spree also included some of their own children. Their house on Cromwell Street contained an awful secret. Their basement was set up as a torture chamber and a graveyard. The basement was also equipped with bondage and torture devices, and they had the ability to hang their victims from the wall and ceiling. Together, they might have killed around 30 women, but they were only charged with 12 murders. Fred West committed suicide before his trial started, and West is currently serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
Next up at number 6,
Let's just hold up there. Like, first of all, disturbing about the children. We're not even going to talk about that right now because that's
pretty
just
horrible.
horrific. But I mean, it's not common to find a couple that do stuff
not
like
a
that.
couple.
That's just wow.
Yeah, that's
I'm disturbed.
a good word for it. Disturbing.
Yeah. Jeez. Let's get back into it.
Peter Sutcliffe, also known as the Yorkshire Ripper. Peter Sutcliffe terrorised the British nation between 1975 and 1980, horrifying the public with the very specific conditions that his crimes contained. In 1981, he was convicted of murdering 13 women and suspected of the attempted murder of 7 more. Sutcliffe, who lived in the Yorkshire area of Leeds and Bradford, was believed to regularly use the services of prostitutes and claimed that the voice of God had sent him on a mission to kill these women. The nation was shocked when his modus operandi would later change, and he began killing women who weren't prostitutes, which inevitably sent the Yorkshire public into a panic. He was initially arrested for driving with false number plates when police questioned him about the killings on a chance encounter, and he confessed to being the perpetrator. Sutcliffe would later plead insanity, but his claim was later rejected, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment, where he remains to this day.
Next up on the
So that's interesting too. Like, so with him, they caught him based off of the license plates, and you know, Ted Bundy kept getting busted for being a bad driver.
Yeah, every time he was driving, he got busted.
He got busted for driving. I mean, it's like
thankful.
you would think. Well, yeah, awesome reason, but still, it's like you're just stupid. Like, I don't know. It's just interesting how people get caught. It's not usually like. It's interesting. I don't know that they've ever caught anybody in the act of actually like trying to kill someone like that.
Right.
But
Not a serial.
and then the thing like that just interesting to me too is like with technology now, this is what I always say, you know, I can't name a serial killer in the last 20 years, which is I'm thankful for. But you know, I think technology is a big part in that. Like there's so many like cameras everywhere to catch people and like
closed
you know,
circuit TV everywhere you go.
yeah, I mean your IP addresses can be traced. I mean, there's I hope I hope the whole genre of this horrible horrific time and period in our civilization or lack thereof is over with because of that.
That would be a nice thought.
Joey's got some nut job out there somewhere.
Absolutely.
But they're interesting because they're very, you know, they're all very similar to a lot of the serial killers that we've, you know, watched stuff on. And not just, I know some of these are not that, they're just bad people. Yeah, it's just interesting how, you know, it always seems to be kind of the same stuff. You know, God told me, or Satan told me, or it's like, you know, clearly some very serious mental issues people have.
On this creepy list, and at number 5, we have Amelia Dyer. She was originally trained as a nurse, but she eventually switched her career path and decided to take a stab at baby farming. This was a practice of adopting unwanted babies in exchange for money. She would prey on mothers who couldn't afford to keep their babies, so she would offer to give them a better life, but instead, she pocketed the money and strangled the baby to death with tape and dumped their bodies in the River Thames. She was able to get away with these horrific murders for over 30 years until she was caught and hung for her crimes. But she managed to murder at least 400 babies during her murdering spree in the 1800s. Okay, biting his way onto this.
Whoa.
No. I didn't expect this with this video. Hold up.
That is horrific. 400.
Oh my lord. All right, UK. I don't know what to say about that. How many of you? I would assume. I'm surprised we haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
Shocked.
I forget what year he said, 1800s or something.
Yeah, but still.
I know. Still,
doesn't matter. We know Jack the Ripper.
Would hear about it.
And my good lord. I mean, wow.
That's shocking.
That's just oh my gosh. How do you?
I'm lost for words.
When they first started and they said Amelia, I'm like, I think have just in America one female serial killer. Maybe there might be two. Eileen Wuornos. You guys might be familiar with the movie Monster. Charlize Theron did. She played her. I think that's the only. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not like a serial killer expert.
No.
But I think that's the only American female.
Might be. I have no idea.
That was completely disturbing and shocking and really surprised by that one.
Yeah, like you said, I'm surprised we hadn't heard about that one before.
I'm surprised the whole world doesn't know that name. I don't care when that happened. That's just absolutely messed up. Wow.
Babies during her murdering spree in the 1800s. Okay, biting his way onto this list at number 4, we have Stephen Griffiths. He is notoriously known as the crossbow cannibal, and his story almost sounds too crazy to be real. But trust me, it is. His favorite pastime included murdering women with a crossbow and then eating their body parts. He actually turned his bathroom into a slaughterhouse where he would dismember his victims in the bathtub with power tools, and then he would start to eat his favorite body parts, in which I don't know what they are, and I'm just not going to question it. So this guy actually took their body parts and stored them in the fridge until he got hungry, and then he would start cooking them in the oven. He was actually diagnosed as a very violent psychopath at the age of 17 years old, but despite all of these warning signs and red flags, he managed to kill 3 women, and now he's currently serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
And coming in at number 3.
That's a good thing.
Why does it go through the radar? If you get a diagnosis like that, that's where it's like, what happened?
I know.
What happens?
How do they slip through the cracks?
I mean, not everybody gets picked up by the radar, so...
I guess, too, maybe they just learn how to work the system and... finagle their way around.
Wow.
Dennis Nilsen. And we're about to head down the hole of one of the most gruesome serial killers in British history. Dennis Nilsen, a Scottish serial killer and necrophile who murdered at least 12 young men, more than likely more, in a series of brutal and deranged killings committed between 1978 and 1983, all of which took place at several of his residences in London, England. Nilsen's modus operandi often targeted young, homeless, homosexual men, which he lured to his 2 North London addresses through guile and deception, often plying them with alcohol and then murdering them by strangulation. He kept the bodies beneath his floorboards, sometimes for periods as long as 8 months, and would then observe the bodies in a strange, twisted ritual. He would dispose of the remains after dissecting them by either burning them on a bonfire or flushing them down a toilet. His crimes were discovered when a plumber eventually discovered the remains of bones and flesh blocking the pipes of his shared flat, and he was sentenced to life in prison, where he died in 2018 at the age of 72.
And how do we do a list like this and not talk about this next guy? Well, Jack the Ripper brings us to number 2. Jack the Ripper is one of England's and the world's most infamous murderers because he was never captured and his identity remains unknown. He terrorized the Whitechapel district of London in 1888, where he brutally murdered and mutilated at least 5 prostitutes. In each of his murders, the victims' throats would be slashed and the body would be severely mutilated, which indicated that he had some kind of knowledge about the human anatomy. anatomy. Despite several investigations, the police had hundreds of suspects, but they weren't able to definitely arrest anyone. So even till this day, Jack the Ripper's identity and motive remains to be one of the biggest mysteries. All right, question for this guy right here, Jack the... What's your last name?
Finch.
Finch, okay. Do you know the anatomy?
Before they go on, though, I've always thought Jack the Ripper was a doctor. I mean, I think a lot of people have thought that, too, because of his somewhat of his known anatomy stuff.
I didn't think that, and I didn't honestly know how many victims he had. They just said 5.
I don't know if they know the actual number.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen much about him in a long time. I watched movies about him when I was younger, documentaries, but there's not much there because you don't know who it is.
Exactly.
Of course, back in that time period, it's harder to, of course, pin that down. But, of course, everybody has a fascination with him. Yeah, but I mean, hearing his stuff now and like remembering it and then going back to the lady with what she did with the babies, it's like, I'm just bothered by that one, like, intensely. I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah.
Why is that not more known? Maybe it's because it is so hard to hear that no one talks about it.
They knew who she was and what she did.
Right, but it's just it's much more horrific to me. It's like, I mean, any death is horrible.
Yeah.
But a freaking
babies.
infant shot. Oh my gosh, I'm just still stuck. Let's rewind 5 seconds.
This guy right here, Jack the... What's your last name?
Finch.
Finch, okay. Do you know the anatomy?
It's not the Ripper.
No. Do you know, how good are you with human anatomy?
Very poor.
Okay, good. So you're not Jack the Ripper?
I'm glad I'm not trying. And to finally end this gruesome list, we have one of Britain's first recorded female serial killers, Mary Ann Cotton. Known as the Black Widow, Cotton is reported to have murdered around 21 people, including 3 of her own husbands, apparently in order to collect on their insurance policies, which she would use to establish a new life. And even more horrifically, she was responsible for the death of 11 of her 13 children. Born Mary Ann Robson on the 31st of October, 1837, establish a new life, and even more horrifically, she was responsible for the death of 11 of her 13 children. Born Mary Ann Robson on the 31st of October, 1832, yes, that is Halloween, in County Durham, England, Cotton's modus operandi was to use arsenic poisoning, learned from her time as a nurse, that would slowly cause gastric pain in her victims and ensure a rapid decline of health. Now, this process was mostly undetectable until it appeared that almost everyone Mary Ann Cotton knew started to die around her. It kind of raised a few red flags. She was trialed and sentenced to death by hanging on the 24th of March, 1873, where she died on the gallows, not by her neck breaking, but by strangulation caused by the rope being rigged too short. Many believe that this action was deliberate. Gnarly stuff, gnarly video.
All right, so this is the end of the video. It's glad to know you are not Jack the Ripper, I think.
Well,
all right. Well,
I just want to say thank you.
That happened. What was the name of that? I'm going back to that because I'm just so like Amelia Dyer. How many of you? I mean, do you all know about her? I mean, again, I'm just, what do I say this morning? I'm just shocked by that one. That was just so horrific and not that I'm not
shocking and appalling.
Well, I mean, as a society, we're so desensitized in so many ways, because we watch so much stuff.
Yeah.
There's so many true crime podcasts, true crime, documentaries and shows and movies and then, I think we've really failed as a society by glorifying serial killers and criminals a lot.
Exactly.
But we've desensitized ourselves to where a lot of us are just like, okay, blah, 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 but
exactly.
But, and I'm not proud of that. I don't think any of us are proud of that. Right.
No.
But, like I said, in America, it's, we know the people here. We're all familiar.
Yeah, we've heard their stories time and time again.
Many, many times. Never heard of any of these people. Like I said, I've heard Charles Bronson's name. Of course, we know Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
I don't think was there anyone else on the list?
No one I know of.
Let me go back and I'm just looking.
That other movie.
That other movie?
Yeah. The one with, what's his name?
No.
Number 8 or 9.
I'm not seeing anybody else in here that I know of. But just going back to her, that is just so disturbing and despicable and shocking, and would think the whole world would know her name and what she did. But the other thing I was going to say is, we do glorify, I don't know if you guys do this over there. That's a question I have, the serial killers, because that's what America tends to do, with glorifying the killers. And we don't really give any attention to the victims, which is so horrendous to me.
Yeah.
But just the Amelia Dyer thing, like, I'm just really, I'm bugged by this because I didn't know. And I'm also just disturbed by it because that's just...
Yeah, it's like, how would she keep getting foster kids?
Well, I just keep feeling like... No, she, bought the kids, didn't she?
A lot of them, yeah.
But I just keep feeling like I heard a bad story, but it's not real, When did you feel that way, too?
You sure hope it's not real, and especially with it being like a pencil sketch and not like a photo.
Well, it was
feel like it's
18.
not real.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
but it makes you feel like it's not real.
Yeah, and so I'm going to have to take it that way to process that, because otherwise it's like, holy crap. I'm just curious if you guys knew all the people on here, and I'm sure there's more people.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty that didn't even make this list.
Yeah, I'm sure. But to me, that was the worst one. I don't...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one that they put as number 1.
Well, that's pretty messed up. She killed 11 of her 13 kids.
Yeah, what the?
3 of her husbands.
Yeah. Wow. So if you guys are into true crime, what are some of your favorite true crime documentaries?
Yeah.
That you've watched? Would love to know your thoughts on that. And if you like the video, not the context so much of the video, but you know what I mean?
Did we do a good job?
Maybe not the content, but I don't know. If you like the video and the reaction to the video or whatever, however you want to word this, hit the like button. I feel weird, kind of dirty saying that.
Yeah.
And
weird.
consider subscribing to the channel. But we wanted to step out of a lot of the same stuff we've done and kind of look into other things we don't know about. And again, not all history we're going to learn about, all things about your culture are going to be pretty.
Yep.
Just like
not all the good stuff.
Yeah,
we got to learn all the history.
We got plenty of shadows and skeletons that, well, there aren't in a closet. Y'all know those things. But we don't know yours, so we want to know, the good and the bad. Let us know if you learned something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else to say. I'm like, wow.
What else could we say?
Not a whole lot. But yeah, so thanks for watching this with us today, guys. I know this probably didn't make you smile. Not our typical Sunday morning video.
Not a happy Sunday video. But nonetheless, we learned a lot.
I learned a ton in this one. And that's what we're here to do, learn.
That's right.
So, but yeah, thanks for watching with us. We'll be back Wednesday. So until then, we'll
see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys.